Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 113. Unexpected developments. The rest of them all returned to their rooms. That night, Hung Jun heard someone knock lightly on the door, and Li Jinglong rose and put on his robes, creeping out quietly on tiptoe. Not long after, Hung Jun followed after him, his eyes still blurry with sleep. Through the half-open door, he saw Li Jinglong and Li Bai in the middle of having a drink together, and Li Guiyan had come as well to visit. Hung Jun stumbled back to bed after that, and when he opened his eyes again, it was already the next day, and the sunlight was streaming in. There were 2 more days until Imperial Consort Yang's birthday, and Li Jinglong spread out the diagram of the banquet venue in Xinqing Palace. The area from the Mingguan Gates to the Tongyang Gates had all been designated for the banquet. When the time came, Yang Yahuan was to set out in a carriage, receiving the well wishes of the citizens alongside Li Longji, and at the same time, the city's defenses would be the tightest they could ever be, without a single crack. To prevent any assassinations, the 6 armies had shored up their defenses throughout Chang'an until not even a drop of water could slip through. All along the rooftops, the second stories, the high towers, and the like, were set up as defense points for the archers. This included the Amber of Lanling as well. Tonight, the Shenwu army was going to take over the wine shop, and Li Jinglong was bound to leave because of that, since he still had an arrest warrant on his head. After making their way through Chang'an, the emperor and the imperial consort would return to Xinqing Palace, and they would announce the beginning of the banquet in front of the Tongyang Gates. They would invite in all of the officials, as well as the diplomatic envoys from other countries. The grand festivities would continue for a whole 3 days and nights, and the officials and the envoys would drink toast after toast, while a variety of entertainment would play itself out on the central stage, the dance of white feathers, war dances, and so on. When the time comes, we'll split up into 3 groups, Li Jinglong explained, marking out each of the locations on the map, in the sunlight on the 2nd floor of the wine shop. One group will go steal An Lushan's signet ring, another will stand guard by the stage to break through the illusion that Mara has cast, and the third will deal with Morijin. Saying this, Li Jinglong handed out to the group the waist tallies that the guards on duty would wear. Lu Su held the waist tally, thinking deeply. Li Jinglong patted his shoulder, meaning that he shouldn't worry, before continuing, "At that time, Taibei Xiang and Master Li Guiyan will provide us with outside assistance, and they will work together with us to carry out the plan." The sunlight shone down warmly on Hung Jun, and he thought of what Li Jinglong had discussed with the other 2 the night before. If nothing went wrong, then today would be the most glorious day since the founding of the exorcism department. They would actually have Li Bai helping them in carrying out their plan. And for the sake of looking after him, Li Jinglong had actually placed him, Li Bai, and Li Guiyan in one group. "That's because the 2 of them rarely go outside and fight," Lu Su explained expressionlessly to Hung Jun. "This group is the safest, and having backup is very important as well. Promise me that you'll be safe, okay?" "You think you're so skilled, huh?" Hung Jun replied without an ounce of politeness. "Just because you're banking on having someone to protect you, you think you're so great, huh?" Lu Su began to chuckle at that, and he slung an arm around Hung Jun's shoulder to hold him in place as he tried to beat him up. Hung Jun wrestled with him, trying to pin him to the ground, and the 2 of them rolled back and forth. Though Lu Su's speed was very fast, his strength could not compare to Hung Jun's, and after a few blows, he begged for mercy. "No more." Just then, hoofbeats rang out from the street outside the wine shop. Li Jinglong went to the railings to look out, only to see a person, dressed in splendid robes, leading 5 horses this way. Those were the horses that Yang Kuozhong had gone out of his way to have a servant send over. Tu Reindeck led the horses to the backyard. Li Jinglong looked out over the railings and whistled to Lu Su and Hung Jun, gesturing for them to look. Lu Su slumped his upper body over the railing, looking across the street, only to see a warrior dressed in cloth robes dash away, swiftly vanishing out of their sight. That was Morijin. Hung Jun wanted to go down the stairs, only for Li Jinglong and Lu Su to hold him back at the same time. "All of you, come over ba." Li Jinglong called to the rest of them. Li Guiyan had come too, and he climbed up the stairs to the second floor of the wine shop. The members of the exorcism department had all gathered in one spot. Li Jinglong said earnestly, "That's the plan. Is everyone clear on it?" Chu Yangxi, Atai, Ashinakayan, Lu Su, Hung Jun, Li Guiyan, and Li Bai all nodded. The Carpio was sitting to one side, while Tu Rainduct was in charge of staying in the wine shop as reinforcements. Li Jinglong was silent for a long while, before adding, "And that individual who isn't here with us today, who hasn't yet finished with his efforts to eliminate the devils. This time around, I've really asked a lot of everyone." Li Bai chuckled. "Helping you all in this was my job to begin with." Li Guiyan added, "The Marquis of Yadan has helped me greatly before, and I am eternally grateful for that. Everyone, please just don't treat me like a stranger." Li Jinglong said, "Then let's split up. Whether or not we are able to achieve the best results in our battle depends all on tomorrow. After we're done fighting this battle, let's get together and have a good time." Everyone cheered in response, and Li Guiyan smiled. "That's a good rule. How about I play a song for all of you brothers?" Li Guiyan plucked at the strings of the qin, and everyone listened carefully. Hung Jun's thoughts, however, unconsciously grew distant. He thought about the devil seed in his own body, and the promise that he had made with Li Jinglong. When he looked back at Li Jinglong, he found that he had just happened to be looking back at him as well, a smile in his eyes. "Guiyan Xiang plays the qin," Li Bai said, "yet I don't have anything to boost our morale. Why don't I compose a poem for you all instead? Bring a brush." Hung Jun was stunned, and he hurried to find some paper and a brush for Li Bai to write with. Li Bai had had his fill of wine, and now he smiled happily. "Relax a little, I still have to compose a birthday poem in the next few days. Tianbao Xiang, even if you were to compose something casually, that would still be a renowned work." Li Guiyan said, chuckling. Hung Jun had finally had one of his lifelong wishes come true, to see Li Bai compose a poem in front of him. He couldn't help but let out a wild cheer, only for Li Jinglong to say, take it easy, they can all hear it outside." On the second floor roof of the wine shop, Morajin, wearing his cloth robes, his quiver of arrows slung across his back, squatted quietly, his gaze lost as he looked into the distance. That afternoon, they all dispersed to do their own things. Li Jinglong took Hung Jun to Feng Changqing's estate. Though this was the first time that Hung Jun had come, Feng Changqing was someone he knew. Currently, Li Jinglong was still a wanted fugitive all across the city, and he really had no place else to go, so he could only take shelter temporarily in this place. Feng Changqing did not reprimand Li Jinglong, nor did he ask any more questions. He simply shot him a cold glance, before saying, "You're back." Li Jinglong nodded, and Feng Changqing gave the orders for a meal to be brought up. Hathan asked, "Do you understand what you are doing?" Li Jinglong replied, "I do." With that, Feng Changqing said no more on the subject. After they ate, Li Jinglong asked after the details of the banquet, and Feng Changqing told him all that he knew, answering every single one of his questions. After night fell, Li Jinglong laid on the bed, his head pillowed against his own arms, while Hung Jun sat to one side studying him. "What?" Li Jinglong asked, his expression changing. Hung Jun kept feeling as if he and Li Jinglong were growing more and more like a couple, and upon hearing his question, smiled, shook his head, and said, "Nothing much." Li Jinglong patted the space by his side, indicating for Hung Jun to come over, so Hung Jun scooted a little closer to his side, lowering his head to watch him. Li Jinglong said earnestly, "Tomorrow, we'll get rid of An Lushan first, and expel the devil chi from his body, then we'll deal with Yang Hong." What if we don't successfully expel it? Hung Jun asked. Are you afraid that we won't be able to expel it? Li Jinglong said, after thinking about it. I, however, am not worried about that. The devil seed in An Lushan's body is formed from one of Yang Hong's Hun, so as long as we can get our hands on An Lushan's artifact and use the heart lamp and the sword of wisdom in unison to purify it, we can force the devil chi out. Yang Hong will also call back that Hun of his. What I'm afraid of is the enemy forces changing, but for that, we can only leave that for Yang Hong and General Geshu Han to deal with. Hung Jun suddenly said, aren't you afraid that, like last time, You won't be able to, Li Jinglong said, smiling, using his index and middle fingers to gently prod Hung Jun's chest. I sealed away your devil seed. I'm your fated nemesis. Who told you? Hung Jun asked. That night, what else did you and the Kun god talk about? The corners of Li Jinglong's mouth quirked upward slightly as he watched Hung Jun, lost in thought. After a while, he said, he told me that everything would be all right. Hung Jun remained quiet, but the crease between his brows had already smoothed out by quite a bit. Li Jinglong said, he told me about how to use the heart lamp to exorcise the darkness in the world. Akalanatha, who used the 6 artifacts to fight monsters and demons, represents strength and rigidity, while Dipankara, who used the heart lamp to expel devil chi, represents softness and flexibility. Dimly, Hung Jun sensed something, and he said, thinking about it like that, for the heart lamp and the sword of wisdom to both be with you is a pretty lucky coincidence. Correct, Li Jinglong said. If I only had the sword of wisdom and the other artifacts, the perhaps there would come a day when we would reach the point where we had to point our swords at each other. If I didn't kill you, then you would kill me. And it was exactly because of that that the Kun god borrowed your hand to bestow the heart lamp on me. Hung Jun's heart thumped at that. No matter if it was the Kun god's dreamscape, his own childhood memories, or Derenge's predictions, none of them had mentioned the heart lamp. In this moment, he finally understood where Li Jinglong's confidence stemmed from. The heart lamp was that sole variable that influenced the future. The Kun god said that this is a lamp that lights up the darkness. Li Jinglong raised his left hand, a gentle white light shining forth from it, lighting up the room. Suddenly, there was a commotion from next door. Li Jinglong and Hung Jun turned their heads at the same time. Then came the sound of a door being pushed open, and the moment the door started to open, Li Jinglong leapt into the air, bursting through the door at almost the same time as Hung Jun. They charged into the courtyard, only to see a shadow, moving too quickly for them to catch, vanishing on the rooftop. Hung Jun tacitly understood, and he turned back and headed back into the room to check if the opponent had left the many traps. Li Jinglong, on the other hand, leapt onto the roof, vanishing in pursuit. Under the dim light of the moon, Li Jinglong roared, "Stop!" Morajin was holding a sackcloth bag as he leapt across the rooftops, while Li Jinglong's feet were bare, so both their speeds were limited. Right after that, Morajin touched down on the last tile on the edge of the roof, before, with a somersault, brought that bag along as he landed up higher. There was a whistle, and the nailed arrows shot over, striking the tiles and pulverizing them. When Li Jinglong caught up, the pieces of tile had already fallen to the ground. The opponent was some 3 jong away, and no matter what, he wouldn't be able to make the jump. He stood quietly at the edge of the roof, studying that bag that Morajin had on his back. Morajin slowly turned and looked towards Li Jinglong. "Return him," Li Jinglong said, "and you and I can have a fight. I know that you've long since desired to figure out which one of us is superior, isn't that right?" Morajin replied solemnly, "I won't be able to win against you, so I won't fight." Li Jinglong: "Lord Mara does not wish to fight you either," Morajin added, patting the sackcloth bag he had in his hand. "Only, I wonder, will someone who boasts of being so righteous also be corrupted in the same way when they experience the pain of losing a relative?" Li Jinglong could not stop trembling. He could guess who Morajin had captured. "Do not act lightly," Morajin said, making a shush motion. "Tomorrow at noon, I will be waiting for you in the manor. Remember to come and exchange your prisoner. Whether or not he lives until you take him away will depend on your fortune." And saying this, Morajin turned and sped away. In that instant, however, Li Jinglong let out an infuriated bellow. His voice broke through the silence of the night, and with a few wild steps, he leapt towards the other side. He called upon all the strength in his body, colliding solidly with the edge of the next roof. However, one of his feet landed on the broken tiles, and instantly fresh blood was drawn. He lacked that last half a kun as he, along with countless pebbles, rolled down, landing on a cart parked behind the residence, shutting his eyes in pain. In the early morning, Hung Jun was wrapping bandages around Li Jinglong's feet, while Lu Su's forehead was furrowed deeply as he looked at him anxiously. "The situation has changed," Li Jinglong said. "I must go to the Angzi military manor to find my cousin." After the chaos of last night, Hung Jun had never expected that An Lushan's third target would actually be to take Feng Changqing hostage. Despite Li Jinglong's endless calculations, he had missed on this single one. If Lu Su had still been able to enter Morajin's dreams, perhaps he would have been able to catch a glimpse of this important information. "I'll deal with him," Lu Su said. "You can't exorcise devils," Li Jinglong frowned. "Then what if Lu Su and I go together?" Hung Jun asked. "We'll catch him and bring him back first, then figure out what to do with him." Lu Su, however, raised a hand and said, "No need, I have my ways." Without Li Jinglong's heart lamp, Hung Jun was afraid that as soon as Lu Su and Morajin faced off, one of them would be injured. But after that night, Lu Su had grown emboldened by his success. "I can also seal away the devil qi in his body," Lu Su said. "It's just like how you sealed away Hung Jun's heart devil, is it not?" Li Jinglong lifted his head suddenly. Lu Su finished, "Leave it to me, and let's go with the original plan. Whoever is in charge of saving people stays in charge of saving people, and those who are supposed to stand guard must keep standing guard." Hung Jun suddenly understood, and he smiled. "Yes." Lu Su left without looking back. Hung Jun looked towards Li Jinglong, who searched his thoughts for a moment, before finally nodding gently. "Let's go according to the original plan," Li Jinglong said. That day, the city of Chang'an was packed with people, as almost 100,000 people who lived in the city and the surrounding Guangzhou region, along with travelers from Luoyang and even Bashu squeezed into the capital of the Great Tang. The thousand-year capital was overflowing with people, and the fronts and back of buildings, the large avenues and small alleyways alike were plastered with images of the 100 beasts, which was a homophone for the 100th birthday. The characters for longevity and fortune were plastered everywhere, and the sounds of drums and gongs echoed through the streets. Those who were tossing out money tossed out money, those who cooked the food, and the two sides of the Zuk Avenue of Chang'an were filled with thousands of food stalls, all supplied by the royal family, and anyone could take as much as they wanted to eat. Hung Jun was basically unable to move thanks to the crowd squeezing him, and he followed, covered in sweat, behind Li Bai and Li Guinayan, to the front of the Dacian temple, where they had agreed to meet up. What he saw was that even Dacian temple was decorated beyond anything that it had seen before, and the sounds of the monks chanting prayers reached to the heavens themselves. "We've finally found it," Hung Jun said. "Something happened in the early morning, and I couldn't get a spot." A little while later, Li Longji brought Yang Yahuan to the front of the Dacian temple to receive the well wishes of the citizens, but the area around the royal seat, near the temple doors, was already completely packed with people, and there was not even a place for them to stand. "That won't be an issue," Li Guinayan said, smiling. "Our Taibei Xiang has a special seat, all we need to do is go with him." Li Bai was still hung over, and he en-ed a few times, before looking around curiously at his surroundings. What? Oh, that's right, let's go see the abbot. Li Bai first pushed aside the guards, before shouting inside for someone to come. The monks in the Cin temple recognized Li Bai, and after their initial shock, they hurriedly let him in, asking, "Why is Master Tebe wandering about here? You're not heading into the palace? And Great Master Li Guinan is here too, this way please." Hung Jun was originally afraid that the 6 armies would give them grief, but Li Bai and Li Guinan's reputations were the best protection he had, and they breezed past the guards and entered the Dacian temple. He held a folding fan up, covering a large portion of his face, as he went in, holding onto Li Bai's sleeve. The abbot was utterly caught up in his duties, and probably could not receive them appropriately, nor did he have the effort to spare for them. Not long after, a young acolyte led the 3 of them up to the 3rd floor, which just so happened to have an unobstructed view down to the area below the tower. The Carpio hopped onto the ground, saying, "I've been here before." Before, when Great Master Xianzang had come to lecture on the sutras, the Carpio had been under the altar. It and Hung Jun leaned over on the window sill, looking downwards curiously. "What are we supposed to do again?" Li Guinan asked. "Get rid of the Yaoguai," Hung Jun said, "and protect the imperial consort and his majesty." Li Bai ed, asking, "What Yaoguai?" The Carpio wanted to tear its metaphorical hair out. "We talked through so many plans that day, did you not listen to even a bit of it?" Li Bai's attention was always wandering elsewhere, and he said, "I'm drunk." "Bring the wine, bring the wine." "You can't drink wine in the Dacian temple," the Carpio protested. Hung Jun shouted angrily, "How can you speak to Tebe Xiang in such a way?" He then hurriedly added, "Tebe Xiang, really sorry about this, but it seems like wine isn't allowed to be drunk in the Dacian temple." No worries, Li Bai said. "As long as it's not in Mahavira Hall, that's fine, I can drink." Hung Jun could only bring the wine over to him, before asking, "Then should I explain it one more time?" "No need," Li Bai said, waving his hand. "In a bit, when we start fighting, just shout for me. I'll strike wherever you point me to." End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 114. Extreme splendor leads to inevitable doom. Hung Jun snapped his fingers, smiling. "Actually, they're Yaoguai that we've seen before in Luoyang. Jinglong said that you two are both His Majesty's favorites, so no matter what suspicions he has, he won't cast them on you." When Hung Jun glanced outside, he suddenly saw a flash of light in the crowd of people. He narrowed his eyes, knowing that that was Chu Yongxi's signal that everyone was ready. "Okay," Li Guinan said, chuckling. "Then let's do it that way, we'll listen to your orders, little brother." Hung Jun was still a little nervous. He greatly admired Li Bai and Li Guinan, and he never expected Li Jinglong to understand him so well that he would put them all in the same group. Of the high points in his life, none of them could surpass this. But as his thoughts wandered to Li Jinglong's current situation, he couldn't help the worry he felt. It was almost noon, and the gongs and drums in front of Xinqing Palace sounded, the 6 armies pouring out like the tide to open up a path for Li Longji. The palace doors opened wide, and brocade streamers fluttered like a scene from a painting as the shining, golden imperial carriage came out of the gates towards the palace. That was truly a scene that fit the words, "The officials of the morning court session walk into the splendid palace, kowtowing alongside the envoys of 10,000 countries to the emperor, in his crown." In that instant, the citizens burst out in deafening cheers of "Long live," their voices thundering through the venue. Hung Jun hurriedly moved to the other window in the upper level of the Cin temple, looking outside. "Listen," Li Guinan said. "Hung Jun." Li Bai, Hung Jun hadn't understood what he was supposed to be hearing, but Li Bai and Li Guinan seemed to share an understanding smile. "I don't know why," Li Bai mused, "but in this scene of such splendor, there is a dim sense of ill omens to come. Li Guiyan hurried to gesture for Li Bai not to say any more, but Li Bai sighed and said, ever since the day that Yang Hong ground ink for me and Gao Lishi took off my boots, the tree in Jinhuoluo has more or less started to decline. Listen to what? Hung Jun had yet to understand a different question. The Carpiao, however, replied earnestly, listen, they're all calling for His Majesty, not the imperial consort. As the carriage passed through Zuk Street, the citizens were all clamoring Your Majesty, and rarely were there any calls of the imperial consort. The officials were also throwing out money into the crowds and distributing food and drink, and Hung Jun wondered if they were throwing Minzi Mingao to the citizens. The Yang family has roused the anger of the people and the heavens alike, Li Guiyan said. The rumors in the 6 armies have long since cast the Yang family in a disfavorable light. Is it because of the military rations? Hung Jun remembered that Li Jinglong seemed to have mentioned before that Yang Hong had withheld a large amount of the rations that were supposed to go to the 6 armies, and the Yang family had had a long history of humiliating the military officials' faction. Not only the rations, Li Guiyan said. The Yang family's food and clothing come in exchange for the very lives of the troops in the 6 armies. The Yang family has embezzled military pensions. Lowborns of the estate have forced themselves on the widows of soldiers who fell in battle, and forcefully taken over their businesses. They have committed truly evil acts. Li Bai sighed with great emotion. Slaughtering parents and humiliating wives are crimes that result in bitter enmity. This debt is one that will have to be settled, sooner or later. Li Guiyan sighed and shook his head, before looking towards Hung Jun. Hung Jun nodded, understanding that he was telling Hung Jun not to bring this up in front of Li Bai, to prevent this guy from getting drunk and then accidentally blurting out something about Xiaoyu in front of Li Longji, thus destroying Li Jinglong's plans. When Hung Jun heard their words, he also felt an ominous foreboding, as if the splendor in front of him was no more than the last banquet before this grand structure would all come crumbling down, or a song and dance close to the end of a play, before the curtains fell on the stage. Everything was perfect, yet it was this atmosphere that created the sole portent of misfortune that peeped its head out from amongst this splendor. The sun rose high into the sky, and Yang Yahuan and her group of sisters sat in the royal carriage, passing through Zuk Street. The citizens came swarming out, following behind it. At that time, the consorts surrounding Li Longji were all dressed lavishly, their eyebrows dark and their lips red, shining with gemstones and treasures. The rest of the group was dressed in even more layers, the golden hairpins in their hair intricately linked. They were wearing pendants of exquisite jade, tortoise-shell earrings, and the weight of all of those accessories added up was a good 5 or 6 jin. Lady Hanga bit her lips, saying, "It's really hot." "Bear with it," Yang Hong said, studying his surroundings. "Yahuan is wearing even more than you are." Every woman was covered in scented sweat, and it had dampened their powder. Even Li Longji was a little unable to hold out. As they went along the street, Yang Yahuan maintained her slight smile, only to hear someone, taking advantage of the chaos in the crowd, to shout, "The imperial consort is destroying the country. The great Tang is being brought to ruin by an evil witch." In that instant, Yang Yahuan's expression changed, and the crowd immediately exploded. The Crown Prince Li Hung, riding on his horse ahead of the carriage, immediately turned his head, searching for the source of that shout, but that person had vanished into the crowd after shouting, and it was impossible to find the one to blame. Li Longji flew into a great rage, wanting the person to be caught and investigated, but Yang Yahuan waved her hand slightly, indicating for Li Longji not to lose his temper. Li Longji also understood that they could not spoil the joy of the day, so he let out a long breath. Yang Yahuan smiled. "For your majesty to have been so celebrated today, this humble consort has long since been satisfied. Such a lowlife is probably jealous of my older brother, which was why they caused such a commotion in the moment. It won't be too late if the matter is investigated after this, so why let it spoil the moment now?" Li Longji could only let it be, and the procession passed through Zuk Avenue, heading towards Cin Temple. All the residents of Chang'an squeezed together in a densely packed crowd as they flooded towards the gates of the Cin Temple. Under the blazing sun, Li Jinglong passed through the alley, coming to a stop in front of the Angzi military manor. The estate was empty, as An Lushan and his subordinates had already departed for Xingqing Palace, preparing to join in on the 3-day-long celebration of Imperial Consort Yang's birthday. The blazing rays of the sun twisted the lines of the Angzi military manor, turning it into a deathly quiet place. The door was wide open, and Li Jinglong stood in the light of the midday sun. His shadow was very short, and his sweat dripped down the side of his face, landing on the ground. A formless sigil appeared on the manor door. Li Jinglong knew that that was a spell to twist space, just like the spell that the nine-tailed fox had used, and Wanju from Luoyang. If he passed through this door, what awaited him was a pocket dimension that the Yaoguai had opened up. Thankfully, before he came, Li Jinglong had already made adequate preparations, but just as he was about to step inside, a voice issued forth from within. "Leave the sword of wisdom outside." Li Jinglong undid the sword of wisdom from his belt, leaning it against the wall outside the door. When he walked through the doorway, he lifted a hand, and with a wen, light flashed from inside, immediately teleporting him into a different world. From afar, the sounds of the hubbub slowly ceased. Morrigan, wearing a set of black leather armor, a helmet on his head and his quiver on his back, passed through a small alleyway. "Whose life are you trying to take now?" Lu Su suddenly appeared in the alleyway, blocking Morrigan's path forward. Morrigan's expression grew increasingly dark at that, watching Lu Su fixedly. Lu Su's hands were empty, and he popped his fingers audibly. "If I've guessed right," Lu Su said slowly, "your target this time is Hung Jun, isn't it?" "Yes," Morrigan said quietly, his voice tinged with a rasp. Lu Su asked, "Have you forgotten what I said?" "That you won't let anyone touch even a hair on his head," Morrigan said darkly. "I, for one, cannot understand why it is that you two keep acting like you need to live and die together." "You wouldn't understand," Lu Su said. "Though, even if you were to beat me, you still might not be Hung Jun's opponent." Morrigan said harshly, "Don't forget who it was who dragged you back from Dunhuang." Lu Su replied, "From that day on, I have always wanted to have a proper match with you. Looks like if I don't lay you out flat, you won't be satisfied." There was mockery in Morrigan's tone. "You aren't my opponent. Then how about let's bet on who wins and who loses?" Lu Su said quietly. "If you lose, then you'll come with me." "And if I win?" Morrigan asked, composed. Lu Su replied, "Then you can deal with me as you wish." And saying this, he straightened his left and right hands, standing firmly. His palms formed blades turned slightly outwards, and he pulled his right palm back, turning his body slightly so that he was slightly facing Morrigan. He said earnestly, "Attack Ba. You're not allowed to use your arrows." Morrigan's hands clenched into fists, and his arms crossed over each other as he placed them in front of his chest and spread his stance. His hunting boots slowly swept over the surface of the ground, sending a layer of dust flying. "Please. Instruct me," Morrigan said coldly. With that, the two of them turned into two shadows, one black and one white, charging towards each other with a shua, before colliding in the air. Amidst the cheers of the crowd accompanying them, Li Longji and Yang Yahuan arrived at the Dacian temple. The bells rang out from within, and the abbot and 16 eminent monks, all dressed in jiasha, slowly filed out. Yang Yahuan first put her hands together, shoulder to shoulder with Li Longji as they kowtowed. The wooden fish sounded on both sides, and the monks prayed for blessings. The area outside the Dacian temple fell silent, and the residents of the city all knelt on the ground in a dense mass. This was the first time that Hung Jun had seen so many people in his entire life. The heads of the people moved, yet there was no disarray to it. Almost 70% of the entire population of Chang'an, the prominent clans of the Great Tang that believed in Buddhism, and who people alike all prostrate themselves, praying for blessings on Li Longji and Yang Yehuan's behalf. A moment passed, and the abbot stepped back. The residents all rose to their feet, and as Li Longji and Yang Yehuan took their seats on the stairs in front of the Dacian temple, the citizens once again broke out into earth-shaking cheers. The crowd began to flood towards the emperor and the imperial consort. Hu Sheng was on high alert, and he followed routine, leading his subordinates to secure the entire scene. They allowed 1,000 people to pass at a time and kowtow 9 times in front of the Cin temple. As soon as they were done, they were to leave, and were not allowed to loiter. First came the residents from the outer city, then the residents from the inner city, then the Hu merchants. After them came those of the 3 religions and 9 schools, wealthy families without any government posts, then the Chang'an literary officials and scholars of the 6th rank and below. Finally came the military officials of the 5th rank and below, along with the generals of the 6 armies. Qiu Yangxi followed behind the crowd, looking across the crowd that surged like the sea, and the military squadrons. Hang Olan was 10 zhang away from him, leading a group of Hu merchants as they waited for the chance to present themselves before the emperor. Geshuhan hadn't appeared at all. And Lushan had evidently changed his plans and given upon that second substitute. There was only one left amongst the original 4 of wine, lust, greed, and pride, and if it was to take the form of the previous emperor from a former dynasty, its intimidation factor would be greatly reduced. What he didn't know was if An Lushan had already obtained the news that the other 2 Gu now had died at Li Jinglong's hands. Since they had yet to return to Chang'an, An Lushan probably knew that something had changed, and even if he only had one left, he would still have to grit his teeth and press ahead. Qiu Yangxi hid the mirror in his sleeve, flashing it up high, even as he mused over the question of who this Gu now impersonating Hang Olan would turn into next. A few flashes of light caught Hung Jun's eye, and he knew that Qiu Yangxi was already in place. He immediately said to Li Bai and Li Guinayan, "Let's get into position as well." The 3 of them left the repository of scriptures, splitting into 2 groups. Li Bai headed east, while Hung Jun and Li Guinayan went west, each of them rapidly striding through the hallways along the 2nd floor of the Dacian temple. Fox Yao can shapeshift as well. Why is it so complicated? Hung Jun asked, looking into the crowd, seeking out Hangu Ian's form. Fox Yao must first absorb the vitality of living humans before they can take that person's skin, Li Guinayan explained. The Yao tribes each have their own ability to shapeshift, but all to fixed forms. Only the Gu Nao tribe can, using the hair, nails, or similar of the deceased, restore the details of the original form. They do not necessarily need to transform into humans either. Often, they transform into plants and trees, houses and rocks, but transforming into those isn't of much use. Hung Jun said, "In a bit, you 2 will be in charge of protecting His Majesty and the imperial consort." "You've said that so many times," Li Guinayan said, smiling. "I won't forget." This was the first time that Hung Jun had been assigned such a task, and he was very nervous. He peeked outside the main entrance to the Cin temple, where Yang Yehuan and Li Longji had their backs to him. In Xin Qing Palace, Atai was dressed in a vest and silk pants. His skin was as pale as snow, his features delicate and open, and his eyes indigo blue. His head was covered in his curly brown locks, making his skin look milky in comparison. Ashinakayang had changed into a eunuch's outfit and had specially shaven off his entire beard for that. Atai asked quietly, "Wouldn't it be better to have Turandak come?" "He likes men," Ashinakayang said. "Fair, soft, and weak." Atai cursed, before adding, "How am I soft and weak? And I've long since grown out of being a youth." Though Atai was slender and pale, he had lean muscles. This role was one that was more suited for Hung Jun to play. "Li Jinglong would choke you to death over that," Ashinakayan muttered. Let's go, let's go. Quickly. As soon as Li Longji had left, the guards in the palace had grown very sparse. The officials of the court all arrived in ones and twos, heading towards the royal gardens, preparing to attend the birthday banquet in the evening. And Lushan was sitting on a chaise, chatting with Geshu Han, chuckling as he did so. He looked nothing like he had the night before last, when he had been gleeful over getting rid of him. Ashinakayan held a horsetail whisk in his hand as he led Atai through the royal gardens. He handed Atai a jug of wine, before stepping back outside of the pagoda. Atai slid his dagger into the cloth around the small of his back, covering it with his vest, before walking forward, the milk wine in his hand, as he knelt down on the ground, offering up the pitcher of wine with 2 hands for an officer under Geshu Han's command to inspect. The officer poured out the wine, and as Geshu Han and Lushan were chatting, he drank a mouthful. His face immediately changed, and he roared, "Who sent this wine?" That milk wine tasted sour. Geshu Han's temper had been explosive to begin with, and at that, he sent both the wine and the pitcher flying. In the distance, the hand that Ashinakayan had around his throwing daggers trembled as he watched Atai being taken into the pagoda. Not long after, a loud laugh exploded forth from Lushan. "Oh well, oh well." Lushan said. "Today is a day of great joy, why be so angry? General Geshu, allow me a favor." Atai knelt on the ground, trembling incessantly. The wine had been splashed over his body, wetting his chest and his silk pants, which wrapped tightly around his waist and pressed against his thighs. His skin was dimly visible through it, and he was almost naked. "Lift your head," Lushan said to Atai. "What's your name?" Atai slowly raised his head. Medicine had already been applied to his pupils so that they changed color, and now they shone golden. His skin was fair, and his eyebrows had been trimmed for this occasion. Though he had the build of a young man, that baby face still had Lushan sighing in admiration. Geshu Han let out a disgusted grunt, evidently knowing of Lushan's idiosyncrasy. He rose and said, "This old man is going to take a walk." His officers hurried to rise, leaving with Geshu Han. Lushan chortled, "I won't see you off then. I'll come drink with the old general tonight." After Geshu Han left, hatred flashed through Lushan's eyes for a moment, but he smiled, completely without pretense. He reached out a rough, plump hand, lifting Atai's chin with it as he asked, "You're a Simu person? How did you enter the palace?" Atai pitched his voice higher. Originally, his voice seemed more clear, but now, he spoke softly, which carried with it a more fawning tone, saying quietly, "Today is a day of great joy for the imperial consort. Elder Lin sent me and the rest into the palace as gifts." Atai made sure to make his Han language sound halting, and he purposefully added in some mistakes. Upon seeing that he was simply another human, Lushan's thoughts had strayed completely from staying on guard. The setup around the Dacian temple completely occupied his thoughts as he smiled and said, "Actually, this wine is not terrible in taste either." And saying this, he actually swaggered over and wrapped one arm around Atai's waist, sticking out his fat tongue and licking a stripe up Atai's abdomen. Atai never expected that this bastard would be so obscene, and immediately goosebumps rose all over his body. Ashinakayan was watching from afar, and his expression immediately changed. He thought to himself, "Damn," because when Lushan had reached out to touch him, there was only a hair's breadth until he touched the dagger hidden against Atai's back. End chapter.